I'm sorry. Sigh no more, no more. One foot in sea, one on shore. My heart was never pure. You know me. You know me. But mine is a giddy thing. Oh, mine is a giddy thing. Oh, mine is a giddy thing. Oh, mine is a giddy thing. Love that will not betray you, dismay or enslave you, and will set you free. Be more like the man you were made to be. There is a design and alignment to cry of my heart to see the beauty of love as it was made to be. Love that will not betray you, dismay or enslave you, it will set you free. More like the man you were made to be. There is a design and alignment to cry of my heart to see the beauty of love as it was made to be. Love that will not betray you, dismay or enslave you, and will set you free. Be more like the man you were made to be. There is a design and alignment to cry of my heart to see the beauty of love as it was made to be.
I set all my regrets on fire, 'cause I know I'll never take the time to unpack my missteps and call all of our friends. I figured they would take your side. I make the bed, it's not that well. Your name comes up a lot when I talk to my mom. Oh, I think she can tell I was out on the town, so I came to your window last night.
How's everyone going? If anyone's here? I don't even know if anyone's here. Check the chat. Oh yeah, we got a couple people. Cool. Well, this should be pointing down more. There we go. Okay.
Weep for yourself, my man. You'll never be what is in your heart. Weep, little lion man. You're not
Oh,
afraid
that's
to
hot.
see where it's start.
Okay. So last night, before I bailed, because I was way tired, I was about to get started on a file system.
Wasted on fixing all the problems that you made in
Now, I'm gonna write my file system much like I've written drivers.
your heart on the line. I really fucked it up this time. Didn't I, my dear?
Specifically, I'm gonna keep this one open. So a file system, when you think of what a file system has, right? It has reading from a file, obviously, writing to a file, opening a file, closing a file,
That you have seen this all before.
creating, deleting,
Tremble, little lion man. You'll
stuff like
never
that, right?
suffer any of your scores.
So those are going to be the functions that
In your face, your
a file system class of driver has to export, right?
Now learn from your mother, or spend your days biting your own neck. But it was not your fault but mine, and it was your heart on the line. I really fucked it up this time.
Oh, and format. Alright, actually we'll start with format, right? Because I actually want to implement that first before we get on anything. Started on anything else.
I really fucked it up this time. Didn't I, my dear? Didn't I, my dear?
Oops. So the file system is called MadOS. Original, I know. That's not what I wanted. Ah! If I go up here and do that. No. On my work computer when I do this, it comes up in the Jedit window that's already open. Oh well, I'll just have to manually do it. Okay. So the the file system driver, right? It's much different to these other drivers, since these are driving actual hardware devices. So if we go look at the floppy disk, for example, it's pushing identification for like a hardware device in order to create and then register. I have a feeling this is going to have to somehow change. I haven't really figured out how. But there needs to be a way for a driver to register itself and then use another driver to talk to the hardware instead of talking to the hardware directly, right? So for example, I could iterate through all the drivers that exist that are storage, and then choose one of the storage drivers to go into my file system, right? Not really sure how I'm going to do that. Let's go have a look at our driver. Driver defines. So this is already sort of a red flag to me. That I want to be able to do this, yet I'm storing hardware ID and hardware versions in my driver. This feels like something that I should actually be storing in, well, somewhere else. Perhaps I can have a driver type, and then these are multiplexed or unioned across multiple or different values. Not really sure. If anyone has any ideas for that, let me know. Why wouldn't you use Twitch to live stream software dev? Is this window working? Looks like it. Oh yeah, it is. Oh no, I screwed everything. Oh, that's annoying me. Hold on. Alright, that'll do. No, there's some other people in chat. I see 6 other people other than me using the magic of IRC for chat. So there's, well, sorry to break your thunder, but on Linux there's already a function called that, called file. So I do file defines. Oh, it's an empty file. Did I put anything here? Also empty. File defines, here we go. ASCII text, if I go to, we'll go build, file build, it's a born again shell script. If I go file disassembler, it's a Python script. File HMD, not sure what this will say. It's data, that's all it is. I have a suspicion this one will also be data. Oops. Yeah. But I don't have any like logos or images on here, but file pretty much identifies every file ever that ever existed. Alright, so we need to be able to format our file system. Oh, right, I need to make this change first somehow.
Yes, sir, yes, sir, yes, it was me. I know what I've done, 'cause I know what I've seen. I went out back and I got my gun.
So I could have it that if the hardware ID is both 0, then the hardware version actually points to another driver that it uses. Ah, no, okay. This is fine. We can keep the hardware ID and hardware can we? No, we can't. Ah! Okay, I figured it out. If it's a driver that sits on top of another driver, all this now. The hardware ID will be 0, and the version will say what type of driver class it needs to sit on top of, right? So a file system class, for example, needs to sit on top of a storage class. Now, I'm just trying to think if there's a cleaner way to do this. Yeah. I got a project like that, and everyone at work is like, just use a little mobile phone. And I'm all like, fuck you, I'll do what I want. I don't like this. I don't like this at all. So I'll just go through what my thought process here is. As I've said a couple times, I've done a course on the Windows kernel, and the way drivers work in the Windows kernel is they're all like stacked on top of each other. So for a file system driver, first you have the part that exposes like the reading and writing. Then below that you'd have, for example, if you've got an encrypted file system, then that goes through an encryption layer. Then that goes through we'll just for simplicity's sake we'll say there's an I/O layer. But I think on like Windows 7 and Windows 8. There's something like 7 different drivers in the chain in order to read and write from the file system, or from a disk, right? Or for NTFS, I think. So, so that's kind of my idea here. But I'm thinking we need to get rid of these three words, these two values, and replace it with some sort of a generic struct. And I'm thinking that struct should actually be this device struct. Because this device struct can point to both hardware as well as a driver, right? So this driver can be the next driver in the chain, or your cell. Oh shit! We could go like define device driver next. And that would let us go down to the bottom. We've got us, we've got next. And this next doesn't have to be, yeah. This next can be like, we'll say -1 if there is no next driver. So the only thing now is, the only reason this information is kept here is so when you register the driver, it can find the hardware that goes with it. That information is stored in this hardware struct as well. However, it means that the creating and registering a driver will become 1 step instead of 2. That makes sense. So I think we'll do that. Okay. I'll get rid of these ones and replace it. Whoopsies. Oh no! Ah, this is all wrong. So a driver isn't bound to a single piece of hardware, it's bound to a single type of hardware, which is what this is actually defining. Oh no. So perhaps the only thing that I need to actually change is this device struct that says what the driver is and what the next driver is. But then again, this won't be required. Oh no. Okay. First I'm going to make a hardware type struct. And that needs to go in hardware. Need to open that. BIOS hardware. So there's hardware info. But now we need the hardware type, which is going to just be the manufacturer ID and the version, right? So it's basically going to be this information. Yeah, that information. I suppose we can put the manufacturer in there as well. Now the manufacturer's not important. Struct hardware type. Hardware type ID. Hardware type version 2. So ID is 2 words, remember? It's a 32-bit value, so we need to have 2 here. Alright, so this is a major refactor, so this is probably gonna take a bit of time and introduce some bugs, unfortunately. I'm gonna keep, I'm not gonna try to integrate this struct into here, even though it's the exact same data, because these are unique, right? Where these don't necessarily have to be unique, so it'll be difficult to find how many unique types of devices there are while iterating through here. I don't think it's worth the effort. However, when you define a driver, or create a driver, you're only going to need to identify this once and it will find everything that matches it, right? Okay, so that's hardware type. Driver. We're going to replace this information here with driver hardware type 0, which is 3 long, so 0 to 3. Hardware type. Now that's going to break a whole bunch of shit, because things are referencing that. In fact, let's just try and build it. Oh no. Oh, that's all caps. So that is referenced 4 times in the driver.asm file. Starting on line 21. Yeah. So this is obviously no longer existent, yeah? Looks like we're gonna need to use another variable, unfortunately. Yeah. Or use another register. Ah! No! So this is already going against what I was trying to do. This is going to be a pointer to a hardware type, which means it's only going to take up one word. Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 5. Now it means when we allocate data for our driver, we need to do driver size. Oops. Driver size plus hardware type size. Now this is I haven't implemented this yet, but we're only going to allocate plus hardware type size if we're attaching onto another hardware device. Otherwise, we're going to multiplex out this value. In fact, I can do that quite easily. Define driver next. Which is also 0. So basically this is saying these two variables are referring to the same piece of memory. It just depends what context they're used in. Oh shit. Anyone have any suggestions here? There's a slight problem in that we won't know which one's being used. We need some kind of a flag somewhere that says what type of driver this is. Shit. Hardware type. Device type. Next type. Hardware. Alright, I have a plan. I has a plan. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6. Hardware next. We can't have driver next because it's already existent there. By the way, in the Windows kernel, these are called flinks and blinks. A forward link and a backwards link. Maybe I should have named it that. I'm not going to change it now because I've used them too much everywhere. But, kind of regretting that decision. Alright, hardware next. Hardware type, hardware next. So if hardware type is defined, as in it's not, we'll say it's not -1, then it gets thrown down to hardware next, which will actually point to a driver. Child? Yeah, probably. Driver parent? I think it's more of a child than anything. Hardware or driver child. Parent. Child. And there's not going to be any link going the other way because it's all going to be recursion, so the other way is not actually required. Hardware type. Hardware child. Bam! I got it. I figured it out, I think. Oops. Child class. Also 0. Alright, so if child is defined, then the first variable refers to what type the child is. That not go smaller? No. Otherwise, if child is not defined, then this is a hardware type. Perhaps I should actually switch these around. No, they're alright. Okay, so now for our driver create, we need two different functions, or two different types, or a variable or something here.
Tears feel warm as they fall on my forearm.
Oops.
Close my eyes for
Okay, so if these are both -1, we'll say, then this one is a child type. Otherwise, it's the hardware version. Alright, I'm going to use a stack, like a proper stack for this one. Sub SP1, I think. Just one. Set Y SP. So Y is our stack frame. We'll actually go put that down. This is the same as pushing 0, but whatever. Okay. And I'll make a define for that. Define variable has child. So if z plus 4 is equal to -1 or FFFF, and z plus 3 is also equal to that, then we're gonna set. You know what? I will push 0 here. Set Y to 1, saying it has a child. Oh, look at that, this is really easy. We can go here, if Y is equal to 1, add SP hardware size, hardware type size. So here we're pushing the number of functions, then we're adding on top of it the size of the driver, and then if we have a child, oh, actually this is if we don't have a child, we're also pushing the hardware type size. Okay. If we have a child here, then we want to skip this part. Also for these I'm going to do has child. Even though it's the first thing, it just makes it clear as to what Y is referring to. Skip hardware type. And this one will be called skip child. Oh god, what do I do? I hit F11. Skip child. So for this one, we go set, look at the defines. Right. Oh shit. Oh no, this is fine. So this one we set the hardware type to just be the child class, which is in fact given to us in the arguments here. We haven't specified any of the actual oops. We haven't specified any actual driver as the child yet, because that's the job of this function to find, or the next function probably, to find that. Hardware type, skip hardware type. So set a plus driver child class to z plus 2. Okay, now these ones are currently wrong. Did we get B? Yeah. Oh, I didn't pop Y. That could have been bad. Yeah, pop 0. Even though this is technically slower than pop 0, I prefer it. Because it makes it more clear about what you're doing. I used to be all for like terrible code that was efficient, but I've since changed my mind. Since, you know, getting a job and working on actual code. Alright, where were we? So here, this isn't correct anymore, these 3 lines, because it's A plus the hardware type, which is then pointing to something else. So we're going to go set B to A plus driver hardware type. And then these are B, and B, and what did I call them? Hardware type ID, hardware type version, hardware type size. Adjectives on the typewriter. He moves his words like a prize fighter. The frenzied pace of the mind inside the cell. Oh, there is one thing. This one, if this is set, this absolutely has to set A plus driver child to -1 or full F. Just to say that this is the bottom and this is referring to a hardware type and not to a child class. On the other hand, because we still actually don't know what the child is, we still need another value here to say we're looking for a child. So we're gonna go set driver child to 0 if we're still searching. Search for child.
And I am not ashamed of my life.
Yeah, so I totally just had to change my mind again. We're not gonna have any of this child class. We're only gonna have either hardware type or child, and one of these is set or it's not set. Get rid of that. And instead of referring this being the class type, this is gonna literally just be the child or next. So that will make this fine. This is gonna be -1 if there is no next. Just like this is gonna be -1. Oh, -1. Hello, Lack guy? I never know how to say your name. That's gonna be -1 if we have a child. Okay. Oh, and we immediately know what our child is, which is Z plus 2. Now I think everything else here is still valid. So, what I see this driver register function doing, what this does currently is it gets the number of, it iterates through all the hardware and links it to this driver by having a list at the top of each driver page of all the devices that go with it. Now this device can hold a driver in it, right? Where is it? Here. Driver, hardware. So I'm thinking this hardware is either gonna be literally the hardware or device child driver, I guess. That's also in the same word. So it's either that or that. And it's up to the driver to know the driver that's using this device struct to know which one it is, which it will, because either that will be set or that will be set, right? Okay. Set Y to 0 if oh, we don't have our driver yet. Where's our driver? Driver's in C. If C plus driver hardware type is equal to -1, then we're going to set Y to 1. So Y is our flag to say whether our next link is a physical hardware device or if it's another driver. In fact, I think we're actually going to just need 2 completely different loops. Yeah. I don't think we need Y after all. Because of that. Oh no, I didn't even pop it. Whoops. Set PC loop. Oops, loop drivers. And this is, I'll put the label here even though it's not required. This is loop device, loop hardware. Oops. Driver. Continue drivers. Break drivers.
As the winter winds litter London with lonely hearts.
Drivers.
In your eyes swept me into your arms.
So all of this stuff is actually only required here. Hardware count, hardware info. Yep, and then we can use A, X, and B again in loop drivers. So I'm going to set A to our root driver. Now at the top we've got, oh, it's actually just called drivers. Set A to drivers. Now drivers, this actually just points to the very first driver registered. and then each driver points to another driver in this next or previous, so you can loop through all the drivers through that. Okay, set B to also drivers. We'll go set B to A. Now in our continue, if A is back equal to B, it means we've done a full loop around all the drivers, and we now need to break. Set BC break drivers. And we also need to increment or go to the next in our list here as well. I forget my API for that. List. List.asm. Step. Okay. Where'd it go? In the wrong file. So we need to push the offset into it. So the offset, if we go look here, is from 0 to the next. So it's always a driver next you push. And then you push your current object, call this step, and then it returns the next object in the list. So this will step to our next driver, and then we check if we've gotten back to the beginning. Now, at the top here, we need to check if the class, if this the hell am I doing? What phrase? Oh, is my stream stuttering or something? Let me know, because I watched my stream yesterday, just the first like 5 minutes, because I upped the quality to see how the quality worked, and by up the quality I mean I changed the maximum output to 10 megabits, and I don't think Twitch could handle it or something because it kept stuttering and whatnot. So I had to put it back down. It's now 2 megabit max, even though it seems to be doing slightly more than that if you look at the bottom left there. Now, I'm slightly confused as to what I'm doing here. My idea was that I was going to loop through all the drivers to find drivers that matched my child, right? However, I've already got the child. So this driver register function actually doesn't need to do anything, I don't think, for that type of driver. Okay. Get rid of all this. So I think we should actually call this register driver with hardware, or driver register with hardware. And to make that change, I'm going to do a set replace. Oh, I got those the wrong way around. Oops. Ah! Oh. Damn it. Okay. Yeah, let's reload. Oh, that's now called something else. Loop hardware doesn't exist. Oh, right, so this needs to go straight to... I'll make another one here called return. Just to be clear. This one obviously doesn't have to exist. Driver hardware ID. Alright, so I deleted that. 105 in driver. 105. Ah, shite. Okay. I'm gonna need another register. Yeah. Let's see. Set Y to C plus driver hardware type. And these are going to be comparing Y now. Oh, cool. Okay. Glad I found a fast way to do that. Okay. Basic hardware. Okay. I think I've got the basis now for making a file system driver.
Climbing up this mountain, you're weak. I leave you lost without a paddle, floating shit's creek. You ain't Detroit, I'm the D. You the new kid on the block, about to get smacked back to the boondocks. Fucking Nazi, your squad ain't your type. Take some real advice and form a group with vanilla ice. And when I tell you, you better use it.
Okay, so we need to create a driver still, but we don't need to register it. Or register it with hardware because it doesn't have any hardware directly. Right. So I'm just going to copy this. Oops. I thought I was going to copy that. There we go. Okay, so these two have to be -1, and this one has to be the driver that we're following. So this is all wrong. This is all wrong. I'm doing this wrong. Okay, so the entire idea of these layered drivers is I can shove this this driver that I'm making now on top of any other storage driver. This should be file system. Any other storage driver, and it will work with the hardware I'm giving it, right? Now, I fucked up. Because I made it so I'm giving it a driver that it has to work with. Which means, for example, in this case, I'd have to give it the HMD2043 here. Which forces this driver to only work on that floppy disk drive. Or disk drive, whatever. Any sort of storage device. It can only work with one of them.
Now you got me in fight back mode. But oh well, if you gotta go, then you gotta go. I hate to do this. I would love for this shit to last, so I'll take pictures of my rear end.
I have a plan. I have a plan. Okay. If this value here is -1, that means you look up the hardware. Okay. This is gonna... I'll just explain it and then I'll go through it. It means you look up the hardware, the driver that's associated directly with the hardware, right? So that means that the file system is directly one above the driver that interacts with the hardware. So, if I go look here, every time a call to a driver is made, hardware information is sent with it. Now if we go look in the hardware information, we'll see that the hardware information has a driver associated with it. So, if this value here is -1, and I'll put that in now, oops, it means that we're going to be taking the hardware we're going to take the hardware, look up the driver, and then use that driver with it. In fact, really, the next driver is really just something to let, it's not anything that's really part of the OS as such, it's more part of the drivers, letting the drivers organize themselves. However, they could find out that information through other means than being it here. So it's not... It's nice to have the specification, so I'll leave it with that this needs to be -1, but really, because it's this driver that I'm about to code up that cares if it even looks at this or not, yeah. Okay, so format. We need to do our first format, right? So, a while ago, probably like half an hour ago, maybe an hour, I made our first function, which was format here, fs format. Fs func count. So right now it's just got one function. So hardware info, and we don't need any arguments other than the hardware info. Returns none, and we don't return anything, I don't think. We might return something later. I feel once I get all this framework how I like it, everything should just start to flow, but brainstorming this framework is, it's kind of messy, as you've seen, obviously. You've been watching me go crazy. Now, oh no. Just leave it at that for now. So, our driver that we're going to be talking to for this format, we'll put it in register A. Is going to be set A to Z plus 0, and then set A to A, which is now pointing out the hardware information, hardware plus driver, hardware underscore driver. So now A is pointing out our driver, and to make calls into that driver, you go something like JSR A plus, what is it, driver func, plus driver func, plus, and then the actual function, storage write, for example. That's how you'd write. So, actually let's just do this and check that this is working. Push. Now a write is the memory, the sector, and the hardware information. So push, we'll start from memory 0. This is what we did last night, but we'll do it again. Sector 0, and then we've already got our hardware information, it's in Z plus 0. Okay. Build, oh it builds. We need to actually add some test code. So here we did HMD right. Oh, couple things. MadOS defines ISM. Okay, so we're still gonna use this same piece of hardware. However, we're gonna be putting it into MadOS instead of into the HMD driver. And this only takes one argument, which is that hardware information. So, build that. Oh shit. Hardware driver. Shit, what did I call it? It's in hardware. Fine. Hardware. Oh shite. Device. Hardware. That's not meant to be there either. Okay. Slight issue. This here is device, and then device driver. Okay. That should get us to build. Okay. Oh, that's why it built before. I wasn't even including the file. Okay. Let's check. Okay. So I'm expecting everything here to work. And then this one. In fact, all of this should be fairly straightforward. Uh-oh. So that was apparently equal to 0. I managed to write over the start of our file. That's not good. So I'm just gonna watch here and see when we lost our memory. LEM. Uh-oh. Haha. Each time we run one of these driver inits now, we're writing over the start of our information with, presumably, the version information. Didn't happen that one, so it must be a problem with that loop. Ah, and I know why as well. Okay. In driver. So here we're dereferencing the hardware type into B. However, we never actually initialize this hardware type. The hardware type is, the pointer of it is the value of A plus the size of the driver struct.
Mr. Shady will be a new substitute while Mr. Kniff is out with pneumonia. Good luck, Mr. Shady.
Set A plus hardware type to
I like it to meet my friend Bob. Say hi, Bob. Bob's 30 and still lives with his mom. He don't got a job.
set B to A plus hardware type. No. Set B to A. Add A driver size set A plus hardware type, driver hardware type to B. So the position of A, which is pointing at the start of the driver, add the driver size. Now we're pointing at the end of the driver, and because we're allocating all of these as one giant blob, the end of the driver struct is the start of the hardware type struct. So then we put the hardware type, or the end of the driver size, into this hardware type area here. Build that. Retry. So I was just looking at these through all that, and they stayed correct. Oh shit, okay. So we'll go into here again. Alright, so A should be pointing to our hardware info. Let's go double check that. C9C. C9C. Yeah, that is pointing to hardware info. Plus hardware device. Let's go look at what that is. Hardware device is +6. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we should be pointing now at E69. Oh, wrong button. Yeah, E69. Device. That doesn't look right. That's this. So device ID or device hardware is apparently -1, which is not correct. That means when we go one more, I think. Hold on. Device driver. Sometimes you see things that aren't there, like fat women and G-strings but on tear. So we don't have any hardware associated with this device, which is odd. I'm not sure how that happened. But if I go one more, 1002. Alright, so that's obviously wrong because there's nothing here, right? Alright, let's restart. And go into, that's the HMD, that implementation or initialization. Down here. Driver create probably happens in. The calic is E63, so that looks familiar. E63. Add driver size. So you would have noticed that these two are like somewhat irrelevant. That's right. Where'd that one come from?
May I have your attention, please?
Oh, I meant to be adding the B here, not to A.
Will the real Slim Shady please stand up? I repeat, will the real Slim Shady
That should be B,
please stand up?
and that line is not required. Build. Restart.
It's the return of the. Oh wait, no wait, you're kidding. He didn't just say what I think he did he? And Dr. Dre said. Nothing, you idiots. Dr. Dre's dead.
I didn't want to go in there.
Feminist women love Eminem. Chicka, Slim Shady.
I want to go in
Look at him walking
here.
around, grabbing his you-know-what, flipping the you-know-who. Yeah, but he's so cute, though. Yeah, I probably got a couple of screws up in my head loose.
Okay.
Worse than what's going on in your parents' bedrooms. Sometimes you wanna
So that was also not correct. It didn't look like.
My bum is on your lips. My bum is on your lips. And if I'm lucky, you might just give it a little kiss. And that's the message that we do to little kids and expect them not to know what a woman's clitoris is. Of course,
That's wrong.
By the time they hit
Shit.
fourth grade, they got the Discovery Channel, don't they? We ain't nothing but mammals. Well, some of us cannibals who cut other people open like cantaloupes. But if we can hunt dead animals and antelopes, then there's no reason that a man and another man can't elope. But if you feel like I feel, I got the antidote. Women wave your pantyhose, sing the chorus and it goes. I'm Slim Shady, yes I'm the real Shady. All you other Slim Shadys are just imitating. So won't the real Slim Shady please stand up? Please stand up, please stand up. Cause I'm Slim Shady, yes I'm the real Shady. All you other Slim Shadys are just imitating. So won't the real Slim Shady please stand up? Please stand up.
Okay.
D3,
D3, CD3, starting there.
Half of you critics can't even stomach me, let alone stand me. But Slim, what if you win? Wouldn't it be weird? Why? You guys can just lie to get me here, so you can sit me here next to Britney Spears. Shit, Christina Aguilera better switch me chairs so I can sit next to Carson Daly and Fred Durst and hear them argue over who she gave
Yep,
head
that's
to
right.
first. Little bitch put me on blast on MTV. Yeah, he's cute, but I think he's married to Kim. I should download her
That's all
audio in
correct.
MP3 and show the whole world how you gave him an MVD. I'm sick of you little girl and boy groups, all you do is annoy me, so I have been sitting here to destroy you. And there's a million
That's
others
right.
just like me, who cuss like me, who just don't give a fuck like me.
I'm in-
dress like me, walk, talk, and
I'm pretty
act
sure I'm
like
in the
me.
HMD.
Just might be
Yeah, I
the
am.
next best thing, but not quite
Alright.
me. I'm Slim Shady, yes, I'm the real Shady. All you other Slim Shadys are just imitating, so won't the real Slim Shady please stand up? Please stand up, please stand up. Cause I'm Slim Shady, yes, I'm the real Shady. All you other Slim Shadys are just imitating, so won't the real Slim Shady please stand up? Please stand up, please stand up. I'm like a head trip to listen to, cause I'm only giving you things you joke about with your friends inside your living room. The only difference is I got the
That actually all looked correct. There must be something else that's going wrong here. Oh. Yeah, I know what's going wrong instantly. So you'll notice these things here just overwrote our hardware information. So the position of our hardware type is actually slightly more complicated in that there's another thing to add to it. The function count, which is in Z plus 0. So we'll rebuild, restart. So we should have left now enough space for Op A. E63. Here we go. E63. Enough information to store all of our functions as well, which it looks like there is. There we go. Also with hardware, I assume that part worked. And then into here. Alright. C9C. C9C. Yep, that looks right. To the device rather. E63. E63. That's not a device though, that's a driver, isn't it? This is meant to be a device, not a driver. And it is a driver. Because it's following this struct, not this struct. So, that is a problem. Hardware. Device. Okay, so we need to find our references to this value and find out why it's getting set. Oops. So this is setting it to 0, that's fine. Here is the only other place it looks like we're setting hardware device to something. Driver 188. 118? Oh. 118 rather, and found it. So the device... Ah! This is all wrong. Should not be getting set. Yeah. This should instead be getting set in the calling function, so HMD driver. When it loops through it, it should be setting, and I think I did this correctly for the clock. Let's open the clock and have a look at that. Because I remember making this change yesterday. Ah, maybe I didn't. What was the other driver I wrote? The LEM?
Look over your hills and be still. The sky above us shoots to kill. Rain down,
Device driver.
rain down on me.
Ah, this is what I added. But I never added the other part. So there was two parts to what I added. I need to add the device driver getting set into the device, as well as the hardware device getting set so that it points at the device as C in this case. Oh, device. Ah! Okay. Set. So this hardware information here is actually what we want. We need to get that value somehow. I just need to find a register that's not being used or something. I could like double push A here. Preserve A across here. Do I need A? What's A pointing to? What is A actually pointing to? Oh, the driver. Do I need the driver? No. Push A. Up A. Up A. Set that to A. Set A plus hardware device to C. So these are now referencing each other, which is cool. Do that down here. Okay. I think that should have fixed that problem. Oops.
I begged you to hear me, there's more than
That should be a comma.
Blackberry, they're dead, they will come out in droves. Take the spade from my hand. The holes you've
Where am I? How to manage that? Let's try that again.
gone your hole with good seeds.
Okay.
Don't cover yourself.
So now we. Uh oh. Shit. Ah!
Rain down on me.
I feel like I just can't catch a break on this one. Damn it. So I'm setting A to device hardware.
Well,
Alright, let's step in there again.
and costly. How much did you pay for your bad Moto Guzzi? And how much did you spend
So
on your
device hot. Oh.
ticket? Is it you or your
Device
parents
hardware.
in this income tax bracket? Now tickets to concerts and drinking at clubs, sometimes for music that you haven't even heard of.
Copy.
And how
So I
much
found
did
one
you pay
device.
for your rock and roll t-shirt
right.
that proves you were there,
A-
that you heard of them
E63.
first. Now how do you afford your rock
That's
and
right.
roll lifestyle? How do you afford your rock and roll lifestyle? How do you afford your rock and roll lifestyle? Oh, tell me. Oh, yeah, alright. Alright. Oh, yeah, alright.
B equals X, which does not. Alright. Device ID is 1. Device driver is A, that's easy enough.
How much did you
Get hardware info. Why did that to return negative
the
1?
one he ruthlessly smashed at the end of the show?
Or FFF. That's why that's broken, but I'm not sure
She'll ruthlessly smash at the
what's
end
causing
of
it to
the
return
night.
negative 1 there.
How long will the workers
So we'll jump
keep
into there.
making new ones? As long as their soda cans are red.
Hardware counting, I've got 3 attached. Hardware info is C93.
New ones. As long
C93. Yeah, that's fair enough.
yeah,
Oh.
Oh no. Aging black leather and hospital bills.
That's why.
Tattoo removal and dozens of pills. Your liver pays dearly now for youthful magic moments, but rock on completely with some brand new
Morning, Mr. Terran.
now. How do you afford
So,
rock and roll lifestyle?
remember a second ago when I stopped setting the hardware device on the create? That's now biting me in the ass. I mean, it's not that hard to get around. Oh, and another thing, this needs to be copied to all of the drivers.
Excess ain't rebellion. You're drinking what they're selling. Your self-destruction doesn't hurt them.
MadOS? No, not MadOS. Only drivers that interact directly with hardware. Okay, now in hardware, get hardware info. This can't use this anymore. It has to. Oh no. Push C. We're not even using C4. C equals the driver. Oh. Alright, so I actually don't need C. I need C plus hardware or driver hardware info. And then I need to compare the hardware information of the hardware, which is stored in X. Hardware type, not hardware type info. Hardware type. ID plus 0. I just had a genius idea, which is somewhat unrelated. Where should I put this? Defines memory. Oh no, put it in the 32-bit. Oh. I'm gonna define a high and a low. So that when I'm going in to... Where the fuck was that? In hardware. So when I'm doing stuff like this, I can go low. Because this is a 32-bit word. And then high. And then finally, the version. What have I done? Okay. That should now operate properly. What's wrong? Did I do that twice? Yeah, I did. How did I manage that? That obviously needs to be a plus. Alright. Control R. You know what? I'm just gonna hope it works first time. Directly into here. That's better. C9C. C9C. Is it better? Oh yeah, C9C is this one. Alright, device E73. This is looking right. And then back to C9. Oh no. Alright, that's the hardware. This is the driver. E63. C9C. Alright, so that's still the hardware information. E63. Okay, good. So these are the functions that go along with that device. So hopefully this works. Ah, I hit F6 instead of F5, meaning stepped over. So I have no idea where that just jumped to. Yay! We're in the HMD write function. So that appears to have worked successfully. Yep. If we look here in our debugger window, there you go. It flush changes,
I have no snare in my headphones.
and these are what we wanted. Just to make sure this is actually up to date, what I'm going to do, and this is only so I can see if it's changed. This isn't a serious change at all. I'm going to set 0 to I'll do dead. So the very first word in that file should now be dead. I want to watch it happen again because that was kind of cool. I liked it. How we have no idea what this could be, any driver that of the storage class type. And it doesn't matter how their implementation works as long as it does the writing.